So your housing loan that you have taken already factor in for a pretty high interest rates already. Next up, right, I think which is the one that most people are concerned about, right, interest rates. So while interest rates going up, right, I haven't heard clients approaching me to sell their properties because interest rates are going up. But with what has happened over the last couple of years, I do have, right, so when interest rate comes down, I do have more people approaching us to look to buy properties, right, when interest rates are coming down. But when interest rates are going up, we don't see the flip side happening whereby more people are saying they want to sell their properties because interest rates are going up. We do get complaints, obviously, from clients saying, wow, interest rates up, mortgage very, very expensive, but we don't see the flip side happening whereby people start selling their properties because interest rates are going up. So there's just sort of an interesting observation that I have about the market, okay? So interest rates, how do we sort of understand or see its impact, try to predict the increase in interest rates impact on the Singapore property market, right? Is the likely increment in interest rates going to crash the market? I guess that's what people's main question to us is. Okay, to understand that, we first got to understand total debt servicing ratio. And for the total debt servicing ratio, which MAS has designed for the particular or the specific purpose of cushioning or preventing Singaporeans from over leveraging and also factoring in a potential increase in interest rates as part of the calculation for a housing loan that you can potentially get. And for those of you who do not know, the total debt servicing ratio has already factored in a 3.5% interest rate for residential properties and a 4.5% interest rate for non-residential properties. So your housing loan that you have taken already factor in for a pretty high interest rates already. And some of these, the graphs that I've taken out from the MAS Financial Stability Report for 2021. I'm going to put that link into the chat and you can refer to that. Andrew, put the link into the chat for the Financial Stability Report. You can go and take a look at it. I read it every year and it sort of gives you a idea on what goes on behind the minds of our friends at MAS, the people that decide whether or not to institute additional cooling measures, right? It's important for somebody who's in the market to look at the kind of data that these guys are looking at, right? And trying to read between the lines of where they feel is their comfort level with regards to where the property market is headed towards, right? They have a whole section on the Singapore property market and where do they think it's headed to, whether or not they feel it's sustainable or not. I've picked out several parameters that they look at, right? Number one, as you can see, right, chart 3.5, the credit quality of housing loan. Okay, this is one of the parameters they look at, right? Has improved over the past year and is broadly in line with its 10-year historical average. I wouldn't go into the details on how they established this, right? But as you can see, the 10-year average is about 0.38%, and we are right smack at the 10-year average, right? It has come down slightly as compared to the last couple of years, which have been trending above the credit quality of housing loans, right? But we are still at the 10-year average. What I would like to bring your attention to is more on chart 3.6, which is the average loan to value ratio of the Singapore household, right? While the rules for LTV stands at 75% today, which is actually one of the reasons why I felt or I feel the previous round of cooling measures that dropped the loan to value from 80% to 75%, right, wouldn't really impact the market much, is because of this. What does this tell us? It tells us that the average loan to value for a Singaporean household is actually below 50%, meaning if the what MAS has done has averaged up all our housing loans, and they have divided it, and assuming the Singapore household is one person, that person has already paid off half of their house already, right? The outstanding loan is less than 50%. So how does this, right, if you look at this and the interest rates, right, it means that the increase in interest rates wouldn't really impact the Singapore household that much, right? Because out of the whole property, half of it has already been paid off, okay? And right, I jump to another part of the report, right, in the summary, right, the Singapore household debt servicing burden is expected to remain manageable, okay? This was written in December 2021, before the interest rates increased, okay? And over here, right, I bring your attention to this. Even if income falls by 10% from the low during the, right, which was established during the COVID-19 pandemic, and interest rates increased by 250 basis points. 250 basis points means a 2.5% increase in interest rates. So now it's about hovering at, for mortgage rates, right, about 1 point something percent, right, 1.5% thereabouts. So even with if it increased by another 2.5%, bringing us to where they have factored in the total debt servicing ratio, 3.5%. So, you know, it is still going to be manageable because they have already designed it into how they evaluate loans with the TDSR. Okay? So this is more of the macro picture on how, you know, the potential increase or the inevitable increase in interest rates, how is that going to impact the market on the macro perspective. On a more micro perspective, how is it going to impact you, right? So I've done just a very quick calculation. So for a 30-year loan tenure, right, with the existing interest rates at about 1.5%, should it increase by 1% to 2.5%, if you are holding a $1 million loan, you're going to expect to see a $500 increase in your mortgage, right? If you're holding a $2 million loan, you're going to expect to see a $1,000 increase in your mortgage, okay? So, what would be my recommendation? So if you are a little bit more conservative, you want to be able to plan your finances, your expenses for the future. If you have a resale property, you can look to start to lock in your loans, okay? I believe DBS has an option for you to lock even to 5 years, yeah, the mortgage, the rates, right, like a hard fix, right? Basically, whatever happens in the world, that interest rate is fixed for the next 5 years. I believe they had that option. I just don't know whether they still have it now. You can check with your bankers or a mortgage advisor, right? So if you don't want to expose yourself to all these potential fluctuations in interest rates, go and lock in your loan, okay?